But look at that Boston game. You think that Locked On Celtics is pretty happy right now?
I'm actually laughing. I'm laughing. This is actually good.
Locked On Thunder and Locked On Celtics are broken after upset victories by the Nuggets and the Knicks. Speaking of broken, the Cavaliers' injury list is growing at the absolute worst time, and LeBron James' contract makes things very complicated for the Lakers. What are the chances he plays elsewhere next season? I'll ask Matt and Hayes all of that and more today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How about that for some playoff action? Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are free. We are available wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets, and your shot clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories with the help of Locked On's local experts. And I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast and senior NBA writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. Matt, did you expect Aaron Gordon to be the most clutch player of the playoffs to this point?
I did not, but I'm not surprised because Mr. Nugget, as he's called here in Denver, is made of the right stuff. Winning player, Aaron Gordon.
And from the Locked On Bulls podcast, we've got Hayes. Hayes, OKC fouls up 3, down 1. Holmgren misses his free throws. Gordon then hits the game winner. Fouling up 3, good call or bad call?
Usually I would say that it's a good call, but it was definitely a bad call last night. I think that was the right decision to make in that scenario. You want to trust your guys, but hey, did that blow up?
All right, so Hayes playing the results. What do you think, Matt? Is fouling up 3, is that a good call?
Dags admitted, he was like, we probably did it too early. This is the kind of the key, is like you have to do it a little bit later in the clock. You have to let more time run off. My problem is, like, look, if you're going to do this, you almost want to do it institutionally, because, like, okay, you let them get the ball over half court. I'm telling you, Jokic is going to try and get a shot up. He has been trying to get that foul in particular on when he knows that he's going to be fouled, that he is going for a shot, anticipating it. He's been working on getting it for 5 years. So, like, there's a very high chance of you drawing a 3-shot foul. So that's why, like, I actually don't mind it. It's based off of the premise. The assumption is you hit your free throws, but Chet didn't. Chet hits his free throws, maybe a different result, but he didn't, and here we are.
So Locked On Celtics, Locked On Cavs, and Locked On Thunder all came into this second round very confident and honestly had every right to be until now. Let's hear from Locked On Thunder's Ryland Styles on a brutal upset loss.
Rest advantage. They had the depth advantage on top of the rest advantage. They have a better roster. They have a coach of the year versus an interim coach. And the one thing they didn't have cost them. They do not have championship level experience. That was an inexperienced team on the floor in OKC. It just was. That was a team who couldn't handle what the playoffs bring in more ways than just the final 15 seconds. The lights will only get brighter. The pressure only mounts. The pressure that this team will feel heading into game 2 is something they haven't felt before, because they won game 1 against Dallas last year. You know, they got off to a 1-0 start. And in a lot of ways, last year was like a house money year where you weren't expected to be here. This year's different, and the pressure's different, and the environment's different. And how they respond to this game, just like SGA said post-game, will determine what they're made of, will determine who they are. Are they the 68-win team, or are they more closer to last year's Dallas performance?
All right, Matt, which one of these upsets is the most shocking? We'll throw Pacers over Cavs in here as well. What do you think?
It's got to be Nuggets. Like, I went on Locked On Nuggets and was like, you just got to play for game 2. I was like, you got to give up on the idea of winning game 1. I literally was like, you try and win. If you can win, great. But, like, if it's out of reach, you need to go ahead and pull the plug early in this one. Like, teams going into this game, when they were on less than 3 days rest and the opponent was on more than 4 days rest, and you just played a game 7, 4-19 since 2003. They're now 5-19 since 2003. One of the gutsiest, toughest, just like This is what sports is about, man. I love all the numbers and the tactics and all of these kind of things that go into how the game is played, the chess match. This was about heart and hustle, and that's how Denver got this win. I think. I'm still not sure how they got the win, Hayes. I still don't know.
By just not giving up. I mean, that, like you said, hard and hustle. That's it. For them to get this win in game one, I think completely shifts the momentum. And not to say that it guarantees they're going to win or anything, but it really does put the OKC Thunder in game two in a must-win scenario. And to be able to do that to a team that early on is huge, because if the OKC Thunder lose a second one at home before even heading back to Denver, I'm picking Denver at that point to win the series. Like that like you've just given them too much power. Now, yeah, you can, if you win game two and you go back to Denver, sneak one away, okay, we're back. Everything's even. You got home court advantage back. But the way that Denver in this game just did not go, they did not back down in times where they could have. I stepped away from this game. The Thunder were up by 10 points. My son woke up. I put him back to sleep. I came back to the game, and I was just like, what happened here? That's what happened. Like, that's how quick it happened. That's it. That's all I did. It's crazy.
So this was the most shocking one for you as well?
Yes, absolutely.
I'll put a vote in for Knicks over Celtics. Talk about some Josh Hart and hustle. I mean, it was insane for a couple of reasons. First of all, the Knicks were down 20 at one point. OKC's biggest lead was 14 in that loss to the Nuggets. And then also the way the Celtics played themselves out of the game, and the way the wings for the Knicks played themselves into the game. It wasn't really Jalen Brunson down the stretch. It was other guys. We're going to hear more from Locked On Knicks in a moment, but let's go out to Locked On Celtics and John Corrales after the Celtics get the game literally ripped away from them in the closing seconds of a 108-106 Knicks win in OT.
In the third quarter, they took 20 shots. 19 of them were three-pointers. I'm talking to some of the people around here who are watching the game, and no one has seen anything like this. No one has seen this kind of shot selection, this decision-making. The Celtics did the Knicks defense a favor by taking all of these shots, because you didn't have to defend anything. You didn't have to defend the rim. You had guys in foul trouble, and that didn't end up costing them. What I think happened is the Celtics were so confident that they could start going for the knockout punch that they didn't worry about the Knicks hitting them back. This was a team that was 4-0 against the Knicks during the regular season. The Knicks hadn't demonstrated any threat of putting enough together to do what they did. But it's the playoffs, and you have to put teams away.
Yeah, John makes the other point, too, that the Knicks in the regular season, they could not beat any of these 60-win teams, and they get the win here in Game 1. Which of the 60-win favorites, Hayes, should be the most worried?
That's a great question. I honestly, just because of Jokic and what he can do, like, I'd say the Thunder right now. I'd say the Thunder are definitely the ones that should be worried the most right now.
I'll go with Cavs. DeAndre Hunter and Evan Mobley are suddenly questionable for game 2. Darius Garland's toe injury is considered to be concerning. Like, if they're not able to get those three guys, I'm telling you, starting Sam Merrill was a disastrous choice. If they go back to that in game 2, it could get dicey again here. They could be down 0-2 going to Indy. Indy plays with so much physicality. I rewatched that game this morning, and they've got so much size. They dwarf the Cavs, because the Cavs are playing Max Strus and Merrill and Ty Jerome. And Jerome was really good, and I think Strus had some moments, but like, they're just outsized by the Pacers. The Pacers are just long and athletic, and they're generating open threes. So I think the Cavs might be in the most trouble because of the injury stuff here. Like, if Hunter is out, that's going to be a massive, massive problem. He dislocated his thumb. That's a problem. So I think that one's probably the most concerning. But to be honest with you, the only one I think is safe is Boston. And that's only if Boston doesn't fall victim to their worst instincts, because I have some numbers on this, Doug.
Yeah.
In the second half, so the Celtics on the season, for the regular season, 65% of their threes come on catch and shoot. 65%. That's a huge percentage. Those are great looks. And some of the shots they got in the second half they missed, sure, were great looks, but they also made quite a few of those. But in this one, only 52% of those shots were catch and shoots. The rest were all these pull-up jumpers off the dribble. They're not good at them. They're 14th in the league at them. They're tied with 3 other teams. You could argue they're 16th. Like, they are not good at those shots. So as much as I think Celtics fans are going to cry shot variance, the Knicks allowed them to play into their worst instincts and think we can just jack up threes and win. And you can't. So from that perspective, I think Boston's got to clean it up. But I do think the Cavs are probably in the most trouble.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at those Knicks starters that had to play heavy minutes, I mean, Hart and OG and especially Mikal Bridges, I mean, if they don't have to play defense, it's a lot easier to, stay in the game if they're not, forced to defend offenses that are going to go into multiple actions. And that's not what Boston was doing. So we have 3 home teams, all 60-plus game winners. They go down in game 1, and the other matchup that we're going to have tonight will be between a 6 seed and a 7 seed. Is this officially the Anything Goes playoffs brought to you by CBA parity, Hayes?
Yeah, I think it is. I think when you pair this with the fact of how fun the first round of the playoffs were, right? However you fit it, it was a fun playoff series in just about every single one of those. Then you start off second round with all the top seeds losing in their opening game, and you have a 6 and 7 seed, and it definitely is. Like, you can pick your poison here. It can go any way as of right now. Now, maybe these teams come back and they win 2 in a row, and then we're talking about it like being back bored. But as it stands right now, you can make a conversation for any of these teams being upset that lost at home to open up, and then the Golden State Warriors and Wolves series. That's definitely a pick your poison series. I'm picking AD and Anthony Edwards in that one, but that series can go either way.
I think one of the cool things about this is usually we can take like a negative slant and be like, well, these teams are just, there's nobody good. And it's like, no, like if you've watched the league all year, and even if you watch them, like the Celtics and the Cavs and the Thunder are great. And so when these teams upset them, you wind up being like, man, like those teams are great too. Like the Nuggets are led by Jokic, who had 42 and 22 last night. Like the Pacers led by Tyrese Halliburton, who continues to be a playoff riser. The Knicks get it done behind Jalen Brunson's clutch mechanics. If the Warriors pull this off tonight, it's going to be like, oh man, like Steph's still, I guess, doing whatever Steph does. Like all these types of things are in play here, where it's great to be able to look at these playoffs and not just be like, they're all kind of mid. No, like these are great teams competing in more equal matchups, and that's what we should love as sports fans.
All right, so coming up on Locked On NBA, we put the focus first on the favorites that went down. Now I want to shift the focus to the underdogs. We need more dogs on this show. We're going to do sus or sustainable. Knicks, Nuggets, Pacers. Can they keep this thing alive and steal another home game? That's coming up on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and if you set up an upset parlay, you are a genius. Every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum swings, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game winner or a breakout performance, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live during the game. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. And if you've got a read on who's heating up mid-game, why not back it up with a same-game parlay or track a rising star's trends and turn that insight into your next bet? New to FanDuel? Now's the perfect time to sign up. Just head to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Okay, let's talk about these upset winners and play one of our favorite games on the show, sus or sustainable. But before we do that, let's hear the reaction from Locked On Knicks after an emotional OT victory.
You want to start this one on this crazy first game in the second round?
First, I'm in a hotel room, so I didn't want to scream too loud. But I'll just let it out now. Let's go! This is the first time in months this team has made me feel something. Gutty game from the wings. 51 minutes for Bridges, 46 for Anunoby, 45 for Hart. I think what those three guys did in the third quarter, particularly Anunoby and Hart, kind of flipped this game on its head.
And the Knicks might have sort of figured out their Achilles heel a little bit here, where they're not exactly adept at getting inside despite having this 5-out spacing. They were playing a little scared on the inside, honestly. Like whenever they would get there, the Knicks were sending aggressive help defense under the hoop, which was then forcing guys into panic situations where they're trapped on the baseline, having to kick it out to someone. And then to the credit of OG and Mikal and Josh, they were like fully ready to close out on any given guy.
Knicks fans can feel again. New York Knicks, sus or sustainable, Matt?
Okay. I think it's sus. I think even with the way that the Celtics mismanaged, and like a lot of this is like what I've been screaming about with the Celtics all year, that they're not last year's team. Like they're just not. Cat looked really bad in this game. They got a huge night from OG. The Celtics missed 43s. And again, I think a lot of those were not good shots, but it took all of that and it went to overtime. Like I cannot get there on this, where if Cat comes out in game 2, obviously, like even if they lose, but Cat comes out and shows that he can win his minutes. There was some defensive stuff I really liked in this game. Tibbs switched a lot more, which I think was really interesting. So there's some interesting stuff I think going on here, where this is going to be a closer series than I thought. And I think closer than Locked On Celtics still thinks, because he still thinks it's going to be 5. But I will say that the Knicks actually being able to win this series is still sus.
Yeah, I feel bad on that one. It's sus. Like it's great, and they maybe can make it a lot more interesting than maybe initially what I thought coming into this. I still don't give them a chance right now to beat the Boston Celtics. A small chance, a slim chance. Now, if they can come in and win game 2, then everything changes as far as that. But as right now, they got a great win in game 1. It was a fun game to watch, but they're going to have to do it again before I'm willing to say that it's sustainable for them to beat the Boston Celtics.
And I think what's definitely unsustainable is Jason Tatum going 1 of 9 in the fourth quarter in overtime. That's probably going to change, and then the Knicks will have to react to that.
I mean, is it? Like, look, Tatum's he hasn't been a great pull-up shooter for 2 years. Like, this is the whole thing, is like Tatum's value to me is so much about when he creates good shots, they're great, and it's his versatility and high floor. And you're right, like 1 of 9's extreme. But again, like if you're going to buy into, hey, it's Tatum time, and I'm going to take pull up 3 contested threes. I don't know, man. They got to work out. They got to get back to creating good shots. You can't. This has been my problem with them all year. They got away from that process, where this year it's like, we're creating good shots. What's a good shot? A 3 of any kind from any spot in any situation. Gotta tighten it up a little bit, guys.
All right, let's move to the Denver Nuggets. We mentioned Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic, 42 points, 22 rebounds, 6 assists. Russell Westbrook chipping in 18 points. Hayes, the Denver Nuggets keeping this roll going against the OKC Thunder, sus or sustainable?
I think the level of play is definitely sustainable. I mean, when you look back in the way that they've done it, it's been basically what it has been before. Russ playing great off the bench, Jokic playing out of his mind with the crazy stat line, making it look flawless, and then one of Jamal Murray or somebody else steps up. Now, they're going to need to be a lot more consistent against the OKC Thunder, but I do think the way that they're playing is sustainable, and I'm giving them a bigger chance than most in this series against the OKC Thunder.
Denver got outscored on points off of turnovers 23-5. They lost the bench points production by 9. They lost the 3-point battle by 5 3-pointers, and they won. They won this game. This flips the entire series for me, because going in, I was like, look, they're going to be tired. They're going to lose game 1, and then they got to win 4 or 6 versus OKC, and you're not going to do that. This is flip, man. Jokic dominated that game in every facet. And if they are not going to have success with Chet Holmgren when Jokic absolutely just ate him alive, then they're in real trouble. J-Dub was terrible last night. I think he'll play better. But there was a lot of things that Denver was able to do last night to create that was a Denver Nuggets type of game down the stretch. And that to me is, even though the Thunder led here by double digits most of the way, this series is very much in doubt for me solely because the Nuggets were able to flip the result of game 1.
Michael Porter Jr., 2 points on 1 of 8 shooting. Are you going to get another Michael Porter Jr. decent game, good game before these playoffs are over for the Nuggets?
Yeah, I think in this series you'll get one. I think you'll get at least one here. It's a tough one. It's going to be a tough one. Their wings are excellent. And they don't have to send as much help. But Porter will probably have one because the thing with his injury situation is some days he's going to feel absolutely terrible, and he definitely did yesterday. You can see that with the rebounding. And then some days he's going to play like he did in Game 7 versus the Clippers and be awesome. So I think it's going to be up and down for Porter. I'm not counting him out yet.
All right, coming up, we'll do Indiana Pacers, sus or sustainable, and then we'll shift our focus to the Cavaliers, who have a growing injury list. We'll get some updates from Danny Cunningham of Locked On Cavaliers, plus the future looking cloudy for these home favorites. It's also looking cloudy for the Los Angeles Lakers. Big decisions for Luka Doncic and LeBron James. We'll talk about it all on Locked On NBA. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. We're playing sus or sustainable with these upset winners in Game 1 of the second round. Let's move to the Indiana Pacers, who topped the Cavs the other night. Matt, we'll start with you. Sus or sustainable, the Indiana Pacers?
Sustainable. I think these injuries flip so much of where the series is at. I'm concerned about how Cleveland's going to be able to respond with this injury situation. And Indiana, man, they are so confident and they're able to exploit so many ways. I don't know if Jared Allen's playable in this series. The Cavs tried switching in Game 1, and Tyrese Halliburton destroyed Allen, just vanquished him. And in other situations, I don't know what the solve is, if they're going to put more at the level, because that's going to open up things for Siakam. I don't know how the Cavs are going to plug all these holes. I've been a little bit worried about their defense all year because it never really got elite. Mobley was awesome, but now he's got a bad ankle. Hayes, I just don't know. I need the Cavs to have a dominant Game 2 win to settle my nerves about the Cavs.
Yeah, a big Game 2 win would go a long way in that. But the injuries that the Cavs have, you have to lean towards like the Pacers being able to sustain this, because you just don't know who's going to be out there for the Cavs on any given night. And then even if they are, you don't know what level they're going to be able to perform at. The Pacers came into that game with such a intentional game plan that it's hard for me to say that it's not sustainable, because it seemed like they really came in and knew exactly how they wanted to attack the Cleveland Cavaliers, and it worked out for them. Now, if the Cavs make an adjustment to that in Game 2, okay, cool. Now all things are back even. But as it stands right now, the Cavs seem like the better prepared team. They are healthier. And so for that, I got the Pacers. Like what the Pacers doing it's absolutely sustainable as it stands right now.
You mentioned Jared Allen. They might not have any choice but to play Jared Allen big minutes. Let's get some updates on these injuries from Danny Cunningham of Locked On Cavaliers.
Mobley listed as questionable for Game 2. Darius Garland listed as questionable for Game 2. Hunter has dislocated his thumb, according to Kenny Atkinson. There are a number of different levers that I think Kenny Atkinson can pull schematically in this game. I think Donovan should be playing somewhere like 37, 38, 39 minutes in this game because of how important it is. That's a very easy thing to adjust for the Cavs. And of course, having fewer bodies available is going to mean that there are more minutes to go around. But the thing that the Cavs need, more than anything that Kenny Atkinson can do as coach, aside from making open shots, right? Like that is a thing that they probably need more than anything, is just, hey, make open shots, because they did not do that on Sunday in Game 1. The thing that the Cavs need is they need Donovan Mitchell to be a superstar.
So quite a job ahead for the newly crowned Coach of the Year in Kenny Atkinson. But Danny putting the onus there on Donovan Mitchell to be a superstar. 1 of 11 from 3 in Game 1. Hayes, what adjustments, forget Kenny Atkinson, what adjustments does Donovan Mitchell need to make in Game 2 if the Cavs are going to somehow survive?
He's going to have to attack more. He's going to have to try to get to the teeth of that defense and attack and try to get not only players in foul trouble, but also get to the free throw line and build some easy offense that way, get in rhythm, and I think really lead that Cavs team by just attacking. They're going to have to go in attack mode offensively. That's where the Pacers, I think, are the weakest at, is where you can attack them defensively. So I'm looking at a Donovan Mitchell that's extremely aggressive in Game 2, and then of course we're going to need the defensive performance overall from everybody in Game 2 as well.
I'm a little baffled by this. Like, Donovan had 33 points, 5 boards, 4 assists. He was awesome in that game. Yeah. He did attack. He was he was 12 of 19 from 2-point range. And a lot of it were like he was missing stuff like the sidewinder Euro step that he does. He missed like 3 of those. He knocks those down at like a 55% clip. Like, Donovan's fine. Atkinson's the problem. He started Sam Merrill. What are you doing? And then he's switching with Jared Allen. Here's another stat for you, Doug. I thought this one was absolutely shocking to me. with one of Jared Allen or Evan Mobley on the floor in game one, the Cavaliers were plus 11. When both of them were on the floor together, they were minus 20. Minus 20 when they were on the floor together in game one. This is going to have to be, I think, a small ball series where Mobley plays at 5, because they tried hiding Allen away from Turner and putting him on other guys. And then what wound up happening is they didn't either have enough rim protection, or they put him back into action on switches with a smaller guard that can shoot slipping. So Atkinson is the one I think that's got to get in the lab here. Donovan's going to be great. I thought he was great in game one, despite going 1 of 11. He's fine. The onus is on Kenny Atkinson. The defense was a bigger problem, I think, than Danny Cunningham thinks, and I think he's wrong on that.
So advocating for the Cavs lineup to slim down a little bit, I think you want an Atkinson diet.
Well done, Douglas.
Thank you.
Done.
Thank you.
5-star reviews for that one, folks.
All right, off-season decisions and speculation. They don't wait for the Larry O'Brien Trophy to be handed out. Let's talk player futures to end the show, beginning with Locked On Lakers, who face huge decisions. Well, not the Locked On Lakers podcast, but the Lakers. They face some huge decisions on how to restructure their team after a disappointing first-round exit.
As LeBron James, with off-season contract choices that they need to make, Luka is he can do whatever he wants, however he wants to structure his deal. The Lakers will happily accommodate. LeBron, however, the choices he has to make, and particularly the how he chooses to make the choices he has to make, have an enormous impact on what the Lakers will look like over the next couple of years.
The Lakers are in this complicated place where LeBron is undoubtedly still playing at a high level. He increasingly needs more help every season, and that becomes increasingly difficult to do when he's making $50-ish million in a capped league.
All right, Hayes, let's do some player futures. LeBron James, same team, new team next season.
Same team. He's not leaving the Lakers. I think he's too involved in just being in LA and what that means for his brand and his business. He's not going anywhere.
I have a dream, Hayes. You want to hear my dream?
Uh-oh.
My dream is LeBron James for James Harden. That's my dream. He stays in LA. He plays with Kawhi. He takes the Clippers and beats the Lakers after they bailed on Clutch Sports and did the Luka trade without consulting him. There was a dinner last Friday night, according to Mark Stein on his Substack, and it was Luka Doncic along with Rob Pelinka, Jeannie Buss, and Luka's business manager and some business people from the Lakers discussing their future, working on the process of getting Luka to sign the Supermax extension. LeBron James was not at that dinner. Now, LeBron probably just had like something important to do, like being a megastar, probably had meetings or is in the Mediterranean or wherever he wants to be because he's a billionaire. But I thought it was very interesting. There's a future being forged here without LeBron James, and I understand that, but LeBron is part of their present and an important one. So my question is simply, if he opts into his player option, that limits so much of what they can do. They need to play ball with LeBron to satisfy him, to get him to opt out and take a different deal. If he opts into that player option, which is what has been reported by Brian Windhorst of ESPN, is likely to happen. If that happens, that's going to limit what the Lakers can do. And that gives LeBron more leverage over them in terms of like perhaps needing a trade for them to be able to compete next season the way that they want to. This is a fascinating power play that continues to play out with the Los Angeles Lakers.
That's a very interesting idea,
wow.
Hayes. Player option for James Harden as well at $36 million. So depending on how the trade would be structured, could be some savings, just a little bit of savings for the Lakers to maneuver.
Imagine the grifting of James Harden and Luka Doncic together. Games would take 7 hours. It'd be amazing.
On the West Coast. We would never
Especially
sleep.
if Tony Brothers is officiating it, then it's just that's an 8-hour game right there.
All right, how about Fred VanVleet? He has a $44.9 million team option that the Rockets have to decide on by May 9th. That's coming up. Ime Udoka, head coach of the Houston Rockets, said after their Game 7 loss to the Warriors, quote, "He's a huge part of our growth. Love everything he's done. I'd love to have him back, and I think the feeling's mutual." Matt, Fred VanVleet, same team, new team next season.
I think they'll pick up the team option because it's more valuable as a trade chip. It's a big contract, right? But if you're trying to look for a superstar, you can't really just put Jalen Green in the deal. You're probably going to want to move Jalen in another deal and then use Fred VanVleet here. So I think even as a trade chip, it's possible that he winds up doing that. They would be, imagine if they don't execute the team option and then they're unable to pull off a trade for an offensive weapon or add someone in free agency, and this is going to be a bad free agency class. They're not going to, like, their offense would be somehow worse next season. Imagine the Rockets offense, but worse. So I think they probably opt in, but I don't know if he's going to be on there because they have to go star hunting, and Fred VanVleet is going to be a huge part, I think, of that process for them because of his expiring big contract.
Hayes, do they have to go star hunting?
Yes, they have to. Well, at the very minimum, you got to go Jalen Green shopping if you're not going star hunting. One of the two have to happen. I think they coincide with each other. I think this Houston Rockets team is set up to go in. And I think, you're going to have Amin Thompson, who's eventually going to be your best player, but you have a window here to where you can compete now if you go and get that star, and then you can continue competing once Amin ascends. And then now you have a dynasty potentially in the making, as far as like your window's wide open at that point in time. So I think they have to go star hunting this up.
One more note on this. If you're Milwaukee, if you package Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet's $45 million expiring, the Bucks are able to clear their books, get Kyle Kuzma off of the books, clear out everybody, and Houston can send them Phoenix's draft capital so they can bet against Phoenix. That is as good as only OKC can beat that as far as an offer for Giannis Antetokounmpo this summer. If Giannis wants out.
OKC, they can't beat Denver yet, but they can beat that deal. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On NBA. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts, including YouTube. Thanks to Matt and Hayes for their expertise and their prognosticating every single day. Thank you to you for making Locked On NBA your first listen. Make sure you're checking out Locked On NBA Game Night. It's every game. It's every night. It's on this feed. And make that your second listen. Enjoy tonight's action. Be kind to each other. We're going to see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA.